Hey, welcome everybody to It Is What It Is, the podcast with your host, Reverend Jeff Fauntleroy. Well, today I want to follow up on something that we dealt with last week in dealing with Wednesday's fiasco at the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. What a mess it was. But some of us knew that something like this would happen. It's been advertised. They said they were going to be doing things like this, and they meaning white supremacist groups, alt-right groups that still believe that this election has been stolen, although we've had a number of investigations that said that they found no evidence of any misdeeds or any stolen votes or anyone voting that shouldn't have been. They still want to claim that this is a stolen election. And this is all fueled by our president of the United States. But, my thoughts on that is that this has to happen. It's a cleansing and it's an awakening. And it's just not an awakening of what we see at the U.S. Capitol and what we've seen marches all around these United States. But, I believe that God has put us in a position where all of us have been able to see it live on television, to hear about it live on the news. It's one thing to talk about it and all that kind of stuff, but it's another thing when you see it. During the civil rights struggle, it seemed like it took the atrocity at the Edmund Pettus Bridge when John Lewis and MLK and those who were marching at that time, it took getting their heads beat in and smashed on national TV when the president of the United States said, enough's enough, and we got to send some troops in to do something about it, because the world called for a reaction to what was going on. So now, here we are, right on the footsteps of January 20th, where the 46th president, or Joseph Biden, will be the president, and Kamala Harris will be the vice president. We're just a couple of weeks away, a week away. And they have already threatened to stop this process from happening. And, hey man, sit back and watch and see what happens, but pray. I still believe that prayer works, but it's not just praying. It's praying and then getting off of our knees and doing something. And I think this is the time that we have to continue to do something. We have showed strength. We have showed the strength of the black vote. We have showed strength of the Hispanic, the Asian, the marginalized people, and sensible white people. Let me just go ahead and say it. This truly is a racial situation, but it goes even beyond that because it's a class situation. And I'm reading this book by Isabel Wilkerson called Caste System. Caste systems are pretty well known in the Hindu culture. It's a class system in certain societies, distinguished by degrees of ritual purity or pollution or social status. And this book starts off, and it's an amazing book. It's actually in Oprah's book club, Isabel Wilkerson, Caste. But I want to read to you something that she says or is said in the book, because I truly believe that all races are going to have to come together and rebuild what's going on. It says America is an old house We can never declare the work over. Wind, flood, drought, and human upheavals batter a structure that is already fighting whatever flaws were left unattended in the original foundation. When you live in an old house, you may not want to go into the basement after a storm to see what the rains have wrought. Choose not to look, however, at your own peril. The owner of the old house knows that whatever you are ignoring will never go away. Let me say that again. Whatever you're ignoring will never go away. Whatever is lurking will fester, whether you choose to look or not. Ignorance is no protection from the consequences of inaction. Get this. Whatever you are wishing away will gnaw at you until you gather the courage to face what you would rather not see. Can I tell you something? Racism is that old house that we have been living in America for hundreds of years. The economy that so built these United States of America, the economy that today we stand on, was built on free labor. I want you to picture this, and this is where the foundation of this house is jacked up from the beginning. And we haven't looked at it, and we've overlooked it, and it's been gnawing at us forever. Get this. Imagine you having a business for 400 years, and you raise cotton, you raise sugarcane, fields, hundreds of thousands of acres. And you had folks out there picking that cotton, cutting that cane, and then you take the product and you make money off of it. You build roads, you build factories, you build houses, you build apartments, you build all these things, but you don't pay the workers anything. As a matter of fact, you whip them, you beat them, and you throw little scraps to them for 400 years. Can you imagine? That's the system that America was built on. We stole land from the Native Americans. We were colonized. Places that we had. Colonizers came over and just took it and said it's theirs. That's the old house that has had cracks, that has had all kinds of damage to it, and we refuse to look at it. And Isabel Wickerson says, choose not to look, however, at your own peril. And right now, we're in our own peril. The owner of the old house knows that whatever you are ignoring will never go away. Racism will never go away unless you stand up and deal with it. Whatever is lurking will fester, whether you choose to look or not. America, we better choose to look at this thing, because it will come back to haunt everybody. We can't move. We can't move as a great nation. Making America great again, it's cold, man. That's a cold word, and we know. We just got to stop it. Ignorance is no protection from the consequences of inaction. Whatever you are wishing away will gnaw at you until you gather the courage to face what you would rather not see. Ladies and gentlemen, racism has been gnawing at us because we would rather turn our head to it and not face it. But I think that we're at the point right now where we all have to get the courage to face the very thing that we would rather not see, and that's racism in America. Listen, man, this is not new. This is nothing new. I've seen it for years. I've seen it in so many ways that aren't good. But I asked the question, as I asked on the previous podcast, Now what? What do we do now? What do we do at this point? Because it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And let me tell you what's going to take place. These investigations, it's going to open up a rabbit hole, man, that's going to go so far and so wide. And let me tell you, man, it's already happening. They are finding out some of the people who've been involved in this insurrection. They're finding out that it's been political folks, there's been elected officials, there's been police officers, there's been firemen, there's been lawyers, there's been teachers, there's been school board members. You're going to find out, man, that these people are from all walks of life. You've been sitting next to somebody who wasn't at work on Wednesday, January 6th, because they were in Washington, D.C., defecating in the Capitol, urinating in the Capitol, tearing down walls, breaking down doors, breaking windows, stealing artifacts from the Capitol building. So, America, what do we do from here? I see preachers, white evangelical preachers, praying in church that people who are involved with the Democratic Party, those who voted for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, preachers are praying for bad health on them. Preachers are praying for the death. Preachers on a Sunday from a pulpit are praying for death of regular people. You know, I always grew up, and I'm a graduate of Morehouse School of Religion at ITC, Interdenominational Theological Center. And I am now a student at Howard University School of Divinity. And I studied at Princeton University. And I've never, in over 30 years in ministry, I've never heard any preacher preaching death to anyone, not anyone that I come up under, none of my teachings. I know a God of love. I know Jesus Christ as a person who is an example of love. So I don't know, where these preachers get this from. But again, that adds to the narrative that goes with this structure that has been overlooked for so long. The floors have been warped, and we put rug after rug after rug over it in America. The walls have been bowed, and we never fixed it. The ceiling has been leaking, and we never fixed it. And now the entire house is about to come down. And good for it. You know why? Because it needs to be restructured. Truth be told, the United States Constitution was never meant for the black and the brown person. It just didn't give us rights. It gave us rights as a citizen, but then we were treated as less than a citizen. So what am I saying, man? I hate dealing with, I'm almost one of these folks, man, who knew that the house was burning and didn't put the fire out because I didn't want to face it. But one of the greatest saying that I heard in a while was, whatever you are wishing away, it will gnaw at you until you gather the courage to face what you would rather not see. So I'm going to have the courage to face that very thing that I'd rather not deal with. And I want to talk about racism and how we can stamp it out. I don't want to overthrow anybody. I don't want to become superior over anybody. I know my history. I know what I come from. I come from kings and queens. So that's established in me. I know that I have excellence in my DNA. That's established in me. But I want to share that excellence. I want to share what God has given me as a talent, as a gift. I want to utilize that to help this nation become one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what I want to do. And then I want to help our police departments to get back to the call of serving and protecting. I don't want to see another person, black, white, green, or yellow, killed at the hands of a police officer who had bad training or was scared or set out to be judge and jury over black and brown or marginalized people. That's what I want to do. To you, my brother and sister, I ask the question, what do you want to do? What's the God that you serve? To my brothers and sisters who serve in Islam, brother, I feel your plight. Those who whatever you serve and are being subjected to racist stuff and atrocities, to my Jewish brothers and sisters, to my Hindu brothers and sisters, to all of those who serve in a religion that doesn't look like ours, but still they serve. I say no more. Let's all get together and let's help to stamp this all out. America, we've got a problem. Like I say before, when we do this, when they do this investigation and they look into the hundreds and thousands of people who were there on the steps of the Capitol on January 6th, it's going to be ugly, man, because there was an inside job. Some of those people knew exactly where to go, exactly what time to be there. And I just say, man, I believe in prayer. I believe in God. I believe that God is still awesome. I believe that God still has power to change things. But I believe that God changes us to make change in this land. And I'm trusting God. I'm going to stay prayerful. But what I'm not going to do is get involved in this nonsense. What I think that we ought to do is we ought to continue to vote. We ought to continue to look at those who will serve us in the political realm in various offices, from the local all the way up to the national. We ought to not only vet those who are going to run for office well, but we ought to help support them. And when they get into office, we need to assist them while they're in office. We need to get on boards, policy-making, decision-making boards, who set policy on a local level, on the state level, on the county level, and on a national level. We've got to make people aware of the various offices. We got to teach civics. We got to teach civics in our communities. And then we got to ask the question, what is it that we want to see from our police departments? And we've got to have those conversations. And we've got to hold people's feet to the fire and say, hey, listen, you know, we're going to take care of our community, and we're going to educate those in our community who are doing things that aren't right. And to my brothers and sisters, man, I say to you, man, in these streets, man, listen, find a way, man. I know it's rough out here. I know my way around these streets. Trust me when I tell you, there's a lot behind this story. But man, I'm my sister, my brother. I say to you, get with some of these OGs, get with some of these folks in your community, and find out another way. I was fortunate to have some older brothers, man, pull me by the coat, man, and lead me accordingly, man. And my brother, my sister, I say to you that we are out here waiting for you, and we'll come to you and help you. But we got to get it together in our own communities before we can go out and criticize anybody else. Our house has leaks. Our windows are broken. Our floors are warped. Our roof is leaking. And we need to tear it all down and start all over again. Again, this nation was built on an unstable foundation, and now the house is collapsing. But the good news today is that We serve one who will give us the tools necessary to rebuild accordingly. We all can get together and rebuild this house. My brothers and my sisters, I encourage you to do what you can together to rebuild this house, man. Ask God, what is it that you can do? What part can I do? What mentoring program can I be a part of to help my brother and sister who is out here looking for help? What can I do? What things are available in my community that I need to know about, that I can direct somebody when I come in contact with someone who needs something? Yeah, it's good to say, I'm going to pray for you. But sometimes they need more than prayer. They need prayer and a service right there immediately. God dispatches some of us sometimes to a location so that we can help a person in need, because we are the ones who have gone through and been delivered through some of the things that those very people who we come in contact with are dealing with. So nothing happens by mistake. As far as this stuff that's happening at our capitals and all these marches and all of that, that's not our fight. That's not our fight. And can I tell you something? It's all going to work out. I believe that this all had to happen because of exposure. I think that the world had to see what we have been saying forever. These are they who have had their foot in our necks. These are they who have been at the hands of the death of young black and brown folks for no reason at all. These are they that we have been talking about who have been dealing with discriminatory practices in various areas of these United States of America. These are they who are being exposed. It's not our fight. I'm putting it in the hands of God. But what I'm going to do also is I'm going to do my part to rebuild the house, because the house is falling apart. And can I tell you something? There's a lot of structures that need to be rebuilt. Look at how we do church now. Many of us have not been in church since March of 2020 and probably won't be back until after March of 2021. But I can speak of where I am. We've probably done more than we've done than when we were in church. We're serving our community in various ways. We're broadcasting through the internet. We always have different programs that are available to assist in not just the way of the traditional church, but we're dealing with marriage. We're dealing with divorce. We're dealing with grief. We're dealing with youth. We're dealing with empowerment. We're dealing with civics. We're dealing with education. We've got all types of programming available to those right at home. All you got to do is get up in the morning, turn on your computer and see what's going on. We've been servicing folks through outreach. We fed over 30,000 people last year. And that includes some of our first responders. We fed nurses and doctors and first responders right at the hospitals. My motto is meeting needs, solving problems. We got a problem, y'all. We got some needs, y'all. We need to come up with some ways to solve the problems and meet the needs. Let me say it one more time at the words of Isabel Wilkerson in her book Cast. Whatever you're wishing away will gnaw at you until you gather the courage to face what you would rather not see. Racism's not going away, y'all. The house is not going to fix itself. The foundation that's cracked is at the point where it's about to crumble. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to help this situation? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to pray. And after I get off my knees, I'm going to get up and I'm going to meet needs, and I'm going to solve problems. I can't do everything, but there's always something that we can do. Everybody can't do everything, but somebody can do something. Pray and ask God, what is it that you can do to break down this old decrepit house and build up a brand new house so that all of us can live one nation under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all. God bless you. And it is what it is.